I've been awake now for maybe 15 minutes. I was just dreaming, and I was going over the dream in my head. Let me tell you my dream. Both parts of the dream was in an urban setting, just like where I live now. And I remember the first part that I'm outside on an intersection, and there was a bike lane, just like what you would find in New York City, like in Manhattan. They have a lot of bikes now, and they have bike lanes. I saw a young family, some mother and 2 children. I think we were 2 children. I'm not sure if the father was there or not, but I'm just noticing the mother. And then it was a young girl, one of the children. She could have been around 10, 11. And she, rather than going up the block with the family, she cuts across a busy street. And I'm afraid for her. And she just goes right in. She didn't get hit, but I was afraid. And I was thinking, why did she do that? I think, the parents continue, I see that no one was hurt, whatever, but I'm thinking, man, why would they do that? Well, she do that, the young girl, what's going on? And I remember saying to myself, that it's a Jewish family. They think an Orthodox Jewish family. I mean, they weren't wearing a yarmulke. They were wearing a long skirt. It was summertime, it was all warm weather, but it was just something, I made a mental note. Like sometimes when you're dreaming, you're watching something, you're doing something, but you also could be thinking too what you're seeing. There was nothing good or bad about them. They were just individuals, and it's just something I noticed. It seemed very real. And then the next thing I remember, I'm in a different location in this city, and this is nighttime. I think initially I was in a room, and there were, I think, things to buy. There were vendors, and there were some small items on the ground. It might have been a low table. But then I remember I'm outside, and I remember picking up something. I remember picking up something, a device. It's about the size of the palm of your hand, and the casing that it was in was loose, like it was old. And I was able to put my fingers underneath it to try to, touch it. I remember on the top of the device, it looked like a little booklet, very, very, very thin booklet or something, or pamphlet. And the device, I think, was blue. It had a circular cover, because underneath it looked like a CD would fit underneath it. This device was to be an electronic diary, an electronic one, and you could, use your fingers to type in your info. But I remember it was something about that, an electronic diary. So the center part was round to fit the CD in a small CD. a little smaller, I think, than, 1/3 smaller than a regular CD. And then like a something against, like you would be able to look, I think like a little screen, little miniature screen, rectangular shape, maybe an inch high and maybe 4 inches wide. Something, I guess the something. And then I remember a woman, she's across the street, and she starts to walk over. She was a black woman. Everyone here is black, if I can remember. Very urban area, like a 125th Street in Manhattan. That strip, that shopping strip there in Harlem, that type of setting it looked like. I don't know any of these people. She's in the middle of the street and she's trying to get the vendor's attention. Hey, so-and-so, hey, it's something. I forget what she was saying, but it's like, because someone else she was trying to get his attention because someone else wanted to talk to him. And then all of a sudden, I think the girl kind of moves out the way because there was a car coming. It was a dark-colored car. Again, it could have been a four-door. It was kind of oldish looking. I don't really know cars. I just know it was a dark-colored car, at least in the nighttime. It looked dark. And it was going real fast. And then it swerves to turn to my left. I mean, the car had passed us, but then it's kind of curving, making a turn, and then and then coming back up. And I was afraid, and I remember I ran away from the street, because I was by the curb with this table of things and vendors. And it was a fence could have been about 4 or 5 feet high, just a regular fence. I think you call it a lattice type, like the kind of diamond shape wire fence. And I went upon this thing to press against it because I was afraid this thing was going to run into us because it got out. It looked like it got out of control. And then I noticed when I looked up down the sidewalk, it was a whole pack of, I guess they were police officers, but they were in gear. They were just standing, waiting. And I remember I felt afraid. I was afraid. But I'm noticing these law enforcement, they were wearing gear, but it was a funny blue color. That's what stood out. The street lights are reflecting off of their gear. But it was a light blue, lightish color blue. A weird blue color. It's a very rare blue. I mean, it's not cobalt blues. No, it wasn't that. It was a lighter than that, but it's a weird blue. I'm thinking, why would they wear this type of color? It was just weird. That's what I was saying. This is weird. And then I heard shots. And so I'm scared now because, these police or whoever involved could be shooting back and you can get hit. And then I noticed I see a figure running in the street. I believe it was a male. And right after they did the shooting, he was tackled. And tackled with regular cops, wearing the darker uniform. Regular, what you normally see. See, not like the other guys that were standing in the sidewalk. It was a pack of those law enforcement with that special lighter blue color, And he was subdued extremely quickly. They got him to the ground, and I think two of them subdued him, and they were handcuffing him. And I think I woke up. Yeah, it was right after the scene. I wake up from the dream state. I keep my eyes closed. And then I see, looks like these stones that were all scattered about. They're all like oval-shaped stones. It was an off-white color. They were light in color. All scattered about. They almost reminded me of little rolls, bread in an oval shape. Oh, it reminded me of that. Almost like in a pattern. It was all, I think like pointing diagonal, but in a circular shape. I mean, if you're looking above, the seemed roundish in shape, how they were sprued about, but in an organized pattern. And then I saw like what looked like a lake appear, like the stones, and then you just see water. And I think it was a pond. And I said a lake, but it could have been a pond. It was murky. And then I didn't see anything anymore. But how I feel after waking up from the dream, it seemed very real, a very modern time things, very modern. And I feel a little sad about living in this city. Now I'm born and raised in this city. And I feel sad for where I feel the country is going. Especially yesterday, I was watching a lot of things on YouTube. There's a new YouTuber I found. I don't remember his name, but he's a black YouTuber, an American black, from an extremely large family, and his grandparents had even like double their amount. I think he said he's one of 12 or something like that, or 15. Yeah, maybe, yeah. 14, no, it's 14 of them. 14 or 15. And his grandmother had 20-something kids. And he seems very intelligent, this man. Very, very schooled. I think it's from the South. And he talked about the trends and the things that are happening in New York City, and how blacks are becoming so outnumbered. He specifically talked about California, and that the percentages of the different ethnic groups, that blacks are really insignificant in number in California. They don't really have any control. But remember before, with the 1960s and 70s, that blacks were numerous in relationship to other ethnic minorities. And they were heard. But now it seems like, I mean, you have numbers, but it's like it's shrinking. And your influence is shrinking. I don't know whether this is just a psychological thing, because it's supposed to be 80 million African Americans. 80 million is 80 million. That is larger than some nations. And it's not necessarily the quantity, it's like the flow, the energy or influence. Because before, like, blacks were the second largest ethnic group in the United States, but still relatively smaller in number than the majority. We make up, what was that, 13%, 12, 11%? But still, there was a presence. But now, the cities, the major cities in the United States, the influence of blacks seems to be decreasing. You have other ethnic groups that, for whatever reason, it's like American blacks aren't being catered to, or in like the businesses. When another group comes in, even in the hiring practice, that blacks aren't being hired to the same degree as these other groups. And so my concern is, see, on the surface, and as I was raised here in New York City, I never mind the different ethnic groups. I was always around other people. And in fact, my acquaintances and friends were always people, the majority of them was always people outside of my ethnic and racial group. And they were relatively friendly. I thought everything was good between us. But I see a trend. I feel it based on experiences that I had when I was still in the business world, and how other groups are now, they seem hostile, like they're getting a taste of influence or power, but they want to get rid of you, challenge you. This is my experience. And I'm saying to myself, how come you're acting this way towards me? Almost predatorial. You can see it in their eyes and their attitude towards you. And these were my friends, I thought. We used to socialize, we were around each other. We talked to each other. They were cool. They were nice people, I thought. I had no biasness against them. In fact, I actually liked them and favored them because I thought they were nice people. But now I see an attitude change. And it's for a while now. Now, I think all along that it was there. But again, back then, 30-some years ago, the numbers were small in comparison. But they lived in their neighborhood, their respective neighborhoods, and I lived in my neighborhood. But once I was in the business world, then now, I'm in a different neighborhood. I'm in a business district rather than a residential. And that's where I see all the different ethnic groups. I'm concerned about the condition of black people in America. We were once relatively open to other groups. when the Civil Rights Act and that era was very prominent, we spoke on behalf of all the different minority groups, and the laws that were passed, it included them as well. But all that is out the window, I feel. And I see the tide moving against Black people. And the newer groups, and the groups that are now a larger percentage than American Blacks, are becoming stronger in influence. And there's other groups, they're smaller in number than American Blacks, but they're getting more economic stronghold. And I see these two major minority groups, I hate that word, but ethnic groups that do not include the African American, are very influential. One is what I would call the quiet minority, but have a lot of political say. No one bothers them really in the United States. They're quiet. And they're actually doing very well economically as a group. While the other minority group, not near as economically viable, but their presence. This is what I foresee. I foresee that the quiet minority is going to control a lot of the business. They have their businesses, and they're going to have, they may not be in politics. Their power isn't to be like a governor or mayor of a city, or even the president. Their power is the economic power, and that they will buy protection and influence. So they don't have to be in the forefront. They're behind the scenes. But this other group will probably get into politics, things like that. But these two groups, they would collectively, because they respect each other's turf, they don't interfere with each other's turf, at least what I see. They don't bother each other. But I sense they will bother you, the African American. And I'm very sad about this, because I feel that all the works of the great civil rights people of the 50s, 60s, and 70s, it all went out the window. And I'm concerned about your communities, that I feel that you're becoming forgotten. I feel that the drugs, the police, all that is going to consume you. It's consuming you now. Like you're going to be the forgotten one. And your numbers are dwindling, so small in relationship to the other people. You need to get vibrant again. I don't know whether it's just psychological warfare to make me think that our influence is dwindling, I meant to say. We are a force. 80 million is 80 million. Whether this trend that I'm talking about is accurate or not, we need to do our own psychological warfare to encourage us, then no matter what our percentages here in the United States of America, we need to think strong, we need to think family, and we need to think community. We're becoming a laughingstock, I fear, in the United States. I really don't follow politics per se, but my presence on YouTube, my watching YouTube, is very extensive, and so I can't help but see some of the news reports. And this woman, black woman, American, Alma Russo, something like that, and how I never even heard of her, but she got booted out. And I was, I think, afraid to really delve into what happened to her. I think she used to work with Trump or something. Or was she on television with him, and when Trump got into his presidency, he brought her aboard? But that she was the only black woman there or something. And a lot of other people. Again, I never heard of her, but she got forced out. They said initially she voluntarily resigned or something. I've heard that before. This is dangerous. My making mention of this is the danger. The danger of the American black. What's happening is you're being targeted. When you try to make a step forward. Now, yes, there was Obama. Obama was a different entity. His facade, his phenotype was an American black, and his marriage to an American black woman, and his 2 black kids. That's just for show. He's not a threat to the establishment of these other minority groups. He's just a showpiece, and he's now out of office, and we have Trump now. So even though there was a President Obama, he's no longer a fixture. He did his part. He and his family are just going to be absorbed by the mainstream users, people of power, but not the black community. Nor will he be a part of the black community. And so we left naked now. Naked. And being swallowed up by quicksand. We have no covering now. We're all exposed. And our position here, we're loyal people. We're loyal to this country. That's what I feel. We are loyal people. We fight other people's fights, like in Afghanistan, all in the Middle East, all that. We fight for this country. But we come home to nothing. No community. No businesses. I'm very frightened for us. Very. I feel we're forgotten. And we're even being used for this hate whitey mentality, with the Black Lives Matter. Yeah, we fell for it. We're being used to fight against white people. And they're not the enemy, so to speak. They're using black people to try to squash white mainstream people. Whether they're people who are for blacks or against blacks, it doesn't matter. There's a system that's using us to squash the current president, President Trump. And they're using you because you're a strong group, you're strong physically, and your presence is heard when you're being used to fight someone else. See that? See, they make you seem important and strong, but it's not strong to help your own people, but you're being used as like the bully of bullies to attack other people. The opposition of the new paradigm system. Don't fall for it, black person. Don't fall for it. You're being used, and these other groups are being used. So you get thrown in jail, but these other groups don't. They're not going to throw these people in jail. They're not being used for that. They're being used, these new, upcoming groups are being used to replace you. You don't get it. You don't get it, black man. Maybe some of the black women sees. She's being replaced too, the black woman. You're laughed at, you're mocked like that woman. That black woman that lost her position in the White House. Here she's dressed professionally, she has her hair done, all that. All, what you would want to be, in the type of position that she's in. But she's a laughingstock now, and shamed, and urinated on. She's disgraced, made disgraced. And no one fought for her. No one said, hey, why are you doing this to this black woman? She's the only one there, only black woman there in that level position. And there's no outcry. But there's an outcry in the black community for when some other minority group allegedly gets targeted against. You see that? You're targeting your own. You against your own. You fight for everybody else but your own people. And people who are there to represent you. You do absolutely nothing. And you're a laughingstock. People are watching you. They say, hey, how come they didn't come to our aid? And this bitter jealousy that we have when someone, a black person, is dressed very polished and is trying to represent a positive attribute of the black race in America, you do absolutely nothing to support her. And there are others. There's another black lady, McKenna, I think her name is. She was in government. She worked in D.C. I forget what state she represented. But they used another black person to get her out. And she was very, very, had a very honest persona, very, very, very straightforward. what you would want in someone who's representing you. And she wasn't protected by the black community. You're hurting yourself. You're hurting your own. You're at the forefront of every type of thing when it comes to racial equality. Even the, what you call the gender rights, really meaning the transgender rights. You'll fight about that. But you're not fighting when someone mainstream, a straight, a heterosexual black woman, heterosexual black man, you don't protect them. My God, what magic is being done upon you? Someone has put magic over you to put you in a stupor. We're too large in number to be insignificant. But all of a sudden you become significant when those other people want you to fight their cause for them, but not yourself. You need to wake up, black people. We're being used. And you have groups out there who are trying to take over the country. They're trying to take over the current president, President Trump, and they want you, the black people, to be their mercenaries, so to speak, to get rid of them. Once they use you, you're out the door. You're being forced out of California. You're being pushed out of New York City. And I know this is by design. Here, I'm a middle-aged woman, very pro-American, and I see and I feel that I'm being considered like a second-class citizen. I feel so heartbroken. You don't know how heartbroken I feel. I feel that my country has abandoned me and leaving me for the wolves. And I feel that the black man is in a stupor, many of them. They're cuckold. They're not supporting the community. They'll go out with others, other nationals, other races, and they don't realize that they're coming upon you, black family, from outside. They're getting people from the outside. And yes, some of them might marry you, have children with you, but it's to get you to have a different mindset, to decrease your identity. They're using this sexual identity. You have a lot of men, black men, who are becoming feminized. So they're no longer black men, but now they want to be transgender. Or they get into relationships with people outside of their own group, and their offspring will no longer have a black identity. That is the game. They want you in these relationships. I notice now that the media is showing more and more interracial couples. And I think this is designed to make you feel good and accepted. But if you peel away what's really underneath, is that they don't want you to see yourself as a black person anymore. They want you to be absorbed by that group that you're in union with. Now again, I'm not trying to say that interracial unions is wrong. You marry who you want to marry, you have children with who you want to have children with. But what I foresee what's happening is that they want your numbers to dwindle. They want your identity to dwindle. So you're no longer a black person. You're somebody else. Just look around. Look at this. Meghan Markle, the woman that was on the television show called Suits. She's the same woman who's engaged with Prince Harry. Now, I perceive that this is being done deliberately, that the matchmaker introduced them deliberately. I remember they did show who the person was. Something. But then when the announcement was made, they said, we will not give their name. But I think initially, briefly, that she was identified. But again, I could be wrong. This, I feel, is by design. It's not by chance. And she's going to be represented. Now she's just engaged. She's not married to him yet. But I think in April, she'll be used to represent something, some royal function, some royal engagement, and she would be a part of it. And I'm just wondering, what's really going on? I sense something. It's a smoke screen. Okay, I'm happy for her. If she's happy, I'm happy. She found her love. I'm all about love. But I'm just very curious on a social level, on a greater social level, how this is going to impact the major black community in the United States. Whether she marries into the British royal family, she'll have to give up her U.S. citizenship. I don't know whether they'll permit dual citizenship, but that could happen. I don't know. But how it's going to, I think it's going to pacify a lot of the American blacks and blacks globally. But the fight is still on. Don't fall asleep. Don't fall asleep. See, some people might be afraid that, oh no, a black person is mixing with the British royal family. No, it's not. It's all by design. It's not to take away the white identity. No. But she will be used to manipulate one's perception, but it's not going to take away white supremacy. Not at all. Not at all. They wouldn't let that happen. But in the United States, there's going to be a change of the guards. And I'm just concerned that changing of the guards in the United States, it's not going to benefit the American black community at large. We need to protect ourselves socially. I'm not talking about warfare, but we need to take a hold of our community and our educational system. We need to know our history, and we need to start teaching skills. We need to learn skills, practical skills, like agriculture, gardening. We need to learn how to build things. It's not done anymore. We need to take hold. I'm so sorry, Black America. Even though, and I've said this many times, I just want people to know who I am. I don't come from the South, the Southeast. That's not my ancestry. My ancestors came from the Caribbean. But I was born and raised here. My parents are born and raised here. And my identity is of the people called the African American people. I took on its history, its pain. And so that was my identity. I was raised to have that identity. But I see that this group that I was grafted onto is perishing. It's losing its strength. And you're being deceived. When you go down, I go down with you. When you move up, I move up with you. That we stay together, we stay strong. That is my mindset. But unfortunately, it's not the mindset of other people who live around you. You have a growing movement of so-called Black people who are from you, who from your community, from your actual ancestry. They're not like coming from the Caribbean or Latin America. They're born and raised, and their ancestry is from the Deep South, from Black America, plantation people. But they are growing up and they're telling everybody they're Native American. And when they live in a Black neighborhood, many of them don't want to help you, the Black. As I mentioned in my prior videos about the American Blacks who are now calling themselves Native American Indians. And that they're using this. They're using this, the system is using this against you. So you have them in your neighborhood, and they're living and telling people that they're not you, that they're Native American, but yet they're not helping you, and they're actually doing things to harm you socially and economically. And then you have the transgender movement being introduced to your community, and they're teaching your little children in the school system that you get a chance to be a boy or girl if you want to. Okay? So you have a Black male who's now not sure what he is, because his teacher is teaching him that, hey, maybe you're not really a boy, maybe you got a girl in there somewhere. So you have that fighting against you. And then you have getting a lighter skinned girl, a girl that's not looking like your Black mother, but any other group. It could be a Caucasian, or it could be someone who kind of looks Caucasian, or a pale skin race. And so then your kids have that identity. So you don't stand. And it's taken away, your group is taken away, can be taken away overnight. And it saddens me as a group. Just 40 years ago, we were intact pretty much. But they introduced these drugs. And it's tearing us apart. You don't realize how strong you really are Tap into your strength. Tap into it. Tap into sanity to keep you afloat, or you're going to sink. I'm so afraid for you. And yes, I may not come from the South, but I was raised in your community and a part of that community, at least by my identity. I didn't even know what my true identity was. As I said before in my past videos, I'm a Queens girl, born and raised in Queens, New York City, the borough of Queens, and attended a public school. It is the blackest school district in New York City. That's what I came out from. And that's what I was in. We were all stuck in that classroom. But schools like that is not training you to love yourself. That school, the last I saw it, it's a black principal, black female principal. So here you have a school system, but it's not. It's very weak academically. And all the other schools I went to, public schools I went to, it's one of the lowest in New York City. So here now, like my high school, it was considered the best school when I was there. But now, after I graduated, it is one of the worst academically. And I feel it's all by design. It's social engineering to keep you down. It's nothing wrong with the buildings, or they didn't have enough chalk for the chalkboard. It's about pacifying you, black man and woman, teaching your sons in particular to not want to be with your own woman, and the woman not want to keep her man. She's not married to him. We're not married. We have a bastard race, primarily. Most black women in New York City, in North America, we don't have children in wedlock. We're not married, and yet we're having kids. Black woman, get some sense in your head and get married. See, it's symbolic, a wedding. Whether you want to get married with, just get married in a system that you believe in, because it's saying something to your neighbor, to your community at large, that yes, I am a married woman. And it's a contract agreement. You're making a social statement when you get married. Sure, you have people who are married who get divorced. But when you are legally married, you're making a public statement of a contract agreement, of a legal family, that you're going to come together and stay together. We're not even doing that for ourselves, for our families. The kids see, they hear. We can get our community back with the help of that black woman, saying, I'm taking back my community. I'm going to stand my ground. I'm not going to be that B word. I'm going to be a feminine woman, a modest woman, an intelligent woman who educates herself and her children, and teach their children the essentials for life, and teach their history. And she's going to be involved in her school, the kids' schoolwork. Work together as a team, as a business partnership with your legal husband. Or at least, if you don't want to get married by the justice of the peace, your spiritual head of your community to oversee your union and to make a public announcement that this man and woman are coming together in a recognized union of that community that you live in. Get involved. Go to the library. Do research. To educate. Homeschool your kids. The essentials that you want them to know for your community. You have to at least do that. And you can change overnight the situation in your Black community. Get involved with other Black women in your building, in your suburbs, if you live in the suburbs. And you have to come together. It's your survival. Don't get pacified because you see Meghan Markle being engaged to Prince William, a Caucasian fellow. Don't get pacified. Don't get pacified by the other YouTubers that you see marrying white men and making it look like it's hunky-dory. Don't get pacified by that. If that's your flavor, that's your flavor. And if he loves you and not using you to get subscriberships / money for himself. If it's a true loving relationship, go for it. But if it's to change the psychology and to pacify you, to think that they're about you, don't believe it. It is designed to pacify you. I can't stop stressing it. It's to pacify you, to think that the war is over. It's just begun. It's just begun. Wake up. Wake up. You're forming unions of people who are using you. You are the gunpowder that make it happen. They're using your gunpowder for their catalyst of change, for dominance. Yeah, there's someone here that's playing games, that's playing all of us. They're playing the Black man, playing against the Black man, the family. They're even playing the white. There's someone behind the scenes who's manipulating it all for your demise. You need to come together to protect yourself. It's being taken away it can happen overnight. But especially the Black woman, you can change it. And the Black man, we need you too, Black man. We need to make it happen. I'm sorry for the things that are happening to you in the prisons. Yeah, you got screwed. You got screwed, all right. But it's never too late. Those of you who are in prison, if you have access and to the internet and come upon this video and this section of the video, no, it's never too late. Educate yourself where you are now. Use that library. You have the right to read books. Educate yourself so that when you get out, you educate the people in your community, or even start a YouTube channel or Facebook channel, whatever social media. Get your word out. Form partnerships with other people who are in your situation, who understand you. And you got to think. You got to start planning, redesigning your community, how you want it, and then go for it. You can do it. You can do it. Don't let them think that you can't do it. It's never too late. It's not too late. Form your new beginning where you are right now and become your own power community of beauty and grace. That is my desire. So I know this was a mouthful. I started this video with a dream that I had this morning and how real it seemed. But you can do it. You can do it. Don't be used. You're being used. Use yourself. Improve yourself. And become the king and queen you really are. You have a lot to offer the world. Not just of your music and your creed, but your essence. You are the native of this planet. It is yours. Start walking in your path, in dominance over the land that your feet touch. It is actually yours. So, get up, go on in your day, and walk with your chin up and a smile on your face that this is day one for a new beginning of taking back my power. Okay? So, enjoy the rest of your day and in your dominance and health.